actually like collapsing.
Pothole?
This time of year.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Good morning. I'd like to call the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Selectmen to order. It is Monday, April 7th. It's 8:31. Everybody rise for the pledge, please. Gary, would you please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Gary. Okay. Next item on the agenda is public forum, limited to 3 minutes on any agenda item. Anybody wishing to address the board? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Item 3.1, approval of the minutes of March 17th, regular meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any additions or corrections? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous, thank you. Item 4, Town Engineer Jim Portley. We've got 4 items from Mr. Portley. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning.
4.1, consider and take possible action to waive the bidding and award the paving and grading of Old Quarry Road to Tilcon under the state contract. Now, Jim, your office late Friday afternoon had brought up to the Selectman's office that material there. We copied it, but the Selectmen already picked up their material by the time that that was received. So you can pass out what you want before.
We'll get to that item.
Okay.
This first one is straightforward. This is the getting ready for the summer projects to try to get all the paperwork out of the way. First one would be Old Quarry. We've made a commitment to reconstruct that road this summer. So what we've lined up is gotten prices from Tilcon under the state bid contract to basically reclaim the existing road. That by that means we churn up the existing pavement, and then we're going to start elevating the road. But this is the contract for doing that work under the state bid price, and because it exceeds $100,000, it requires the Board of Selectmen approval to waive the bidding, our own bidding. It'd be redundant for us to go through a bidding procedure at this point. And these prices are the best we're going to get. So I would ask the Board of Selectmen to waive the bidding procedure for the paving, and the other item is the stone.
No, we got that as a second item, yeah.
Okay, second item. Okay, so initially the paving.
Okay.
Again, these prices are based on state bid prices. We're not going to get a better price than this. So I would recommend the Board of Selectmen waive the bidding procedure and accept the bid from Tilcon under the state bid price.
Okay. Your motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just a quick question, Jim. Under 6 and 7, the escalation, it has a number, and then it says total price 0. I just didn't understand what that was about.
That escalation is with any asphalt price based on the price of the oil when you get it, and that varies from week to week, and they calculate, because Tilcon, they buy it in the marketplace. So when they if they give you a price now, it's one price. July 1st, it can be up and down, and we've had projects where it's gone up and down based on the demand. So they can't figure it, and the state allows them to have an escalation clause or de-escalation clause, but if you want to waive it, want to look at it. So it's a fair way to.
Okay, so this may not be 173,000, it may be plus or minus.
Plus or minus.
Okay.
But the basic, the quantities and the.
And is that verifiable off some standard petroleum
Yes.
index or something?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Jim, that brings up another question. I assume all contractors for this type of work operate the same way?
Yes, this is part of the state bid. They spell it out where they allow this.
Okay.
And there are, there's any number of vendors around the state that bid on this project that do it the same way.
Okay. I have a motion on the floor, made and seconded. No further discussion. I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. All right, now that was to waive the bidding and to award the contract, so everybody is clear with that then. I don't think we need two motions on that. All right, Jim, item 2, discuss and take possible action to waive the bidding and purchase processed stone from Tilcon under the state contract.
Again, this is the same kind of thing. The state has these bid items, they call the vendor in place. We would like to access the state bid, again, because of the volume of money involved. It's, I think it's $85,000. We would ask the Board of Selectmen to waive that bid and allow us to purchase directly from Tilcon.
I didn't get a sheet on that, did anyone else?
It's,
Or is it in,
it's included, it's zipper broken down, but it's, where is it? The price is based on the volume, but we just had furnish installed 3 inches of frosted aggregate. It's in that price there.
oh, okay.
Where are you, Jim, on that?
It's the third
Third
line
line.
on the bid price. And we just went through the calculations to get this amount of money, because we're gonna have to elevate this road by a couple of feet. So
Oh, I see the process.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
So it's really part of what I thought I voted for last time.
Well, this is in addition to that. The one thing is the building, the pavement
I thought I
itself.
was voting for all of it, then,
Oh, okay.
by number, okay. I'll move that.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any further discussion? Call the question, all those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, thank you.
Jim, just out of curiosity, what are they gonna do with 146 under the bridges?
They, at this point, the only project I've seen that the state is working on is down where the clammy area is down where the outlet for
Yeah.
Lost Lake. They are, I've seen very preliminary plans where they're gonna elevate that road 2 or 3 feet. They're building retaining walls on both sides, and they're providing public access on the south side. They're very much in the very early stages of that design. I don't know what they're gonna do with the bridges. I think that's a dilemma that they're gonna have to face.
Yeah.
But there's no easy remedy. To be honest, I think the only real way to do anything there is to deal with the railroad tracks. And I don't think they're likely to do that.
It's gonna be a big one.
By doing what they're doing, though, they can still provide, and using Moose Hill Road as the outlet, that's the way to get people away from the shore and
Right.
flooding. If it floods at both Sachem's Head and at the Branford line, if they can elevate 146 from Sachem's Head Road to Branford, they can funnel everybody to Moose Hill and can get out that way, if in case of a real emergency, hurricane or whatever. But you have those dips. And in all honesty, unless they want to start elevating
The
the
tracks.
railroad tracks, it's, there is no remedy, because you can't go down lower one way or the other. I mean, the drainage is just, they've tried several times with the drainage under 146.
Now, last Sunday, I had to get down under the Sachem's Head Bridge, and the water was pouring through there.
Yeah, well, it was,
Pouring through there.
how many roads were closed in town?
Yeah.
Long Hill
Sunday was
Road.
not a fun
We're
day.
talking about Long Hill Road was closed.
That's right.
We have any number of roads. I felt good that Flag Marsh Road wasn't closed. This is a start.
Yeah.
We rebuilt that. We fixed some of these other roads.
Well, even
But that-
77, just above the cemetery,
Yep,
was,
was pouring. I didn't get,
Lot
I
of
meant to
water.
look up at Bittner. Generally, the water backs up in the valley. And the road floods just south of the entrance into Bittner because of the limitations. And then something in the long term we would have to address. But we have provided alternate means now. But that's a very difficult situation, very difficult.
okay,
My recollection, when I lived in Branford in the 70s, they were discussing the one at exit 53.
Yeah.
And it's not quite done yet. It was 30, 40 years that it took them to do that one right.
Well, it's not a matter of necessarily doing it right. It's the matter of getting the dollars together.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
To
I mean,
to
that's-
plan it, to pay for it, to whatever.
It's these projects are incredibly expensive, and the process you need to go through is, I mean, and 146. It's a historic road. It fits into the category of what the scenic roads
Scenic Road.
So there's so many obstacles you have to go through.
Yeah.
In any event, that's a good question. No answers yet.
All right, let's move on to 4.3. Consider and take possible action approving a resolution authorizing that Long Hill Road reconstruction project from Route 1 to Hubbard Road proceed to final design. Jim, what do you have for us?
Okay, this, you all have copies of this memo. I did have some maps that came in, if you wanted to see the right-of-way maps, but let's deal with this first.
The right-of-way is the second thing,
Yeah.
so let's go with
We've had the public hearing. You've approved the minutes, I believe, of the public hearing. The state now, to go to the next step, requires that the Board of Selectmen adopt a resolution
Right.
to proceed. And so this is basically says I recommend the Board of Selectmen approve the following resolution. The Guilford Board of Selectmen has reviewed and considered comments submitted subsequent to the public hearing / public information meeting on February 27, 2014, and has determined that the project should proceed to final design based on preliminary design plans that will be presented by Hacks Engineering. So this is just, once they have this, then they know that the town is serious about proceeding with this, and that they require this all the time. So I recommend the Board of Selectmen pass that resolution.
You have a motion?
I would move the resolution as written.
Second. Any discussion on the motion? See none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Jim, we got one last one for you, now the right-of-way.
The last thing is the right-of-way. We spent a good amount of time at the public hearing talking about the right-of-way, that where there are properties that have been surveyed, A2 surveys, we have taken their front property line along Long Hill Road as the street line, as the right-of-way line. A lot of the properties, well, not a lot, in terms of the frontage, Bishop's properties were never surveyed. I mean, obviously, the town has had that road, and they've maintained the side of the road over these years. What we have to do for the purposes of the project is establish a right-of-way line. And we presented that at the public hearing. It was shown on the maps. Subsequent to that, I met with Gene and Keith and Jonathan Bishop, and they agreed to the right-of-way line, which established, and where there's no survey on file, the right-of-way line will be 30 feet off the center line of the new road. So that gives us plenty of room to work and do what we have to do. The only other property that required that right-of-way line to be established was right at the corner of Long Hill and Route 1. And that would be the area where the property is owned by the Land Conservation Trust. Sarah Williams came in, looked at the maps, says there's no construction that will impact that. She had no problems with this, again, establishing that right-of-way 30 feet off the center line of the new road. So what we will have now, with maps made up, we will put on file in the town clerk's office that will show this right-of-way starting at Route 1 going all the way up to Hubbard Road. And that was the basis for the mapping. And then there will be other places where we will have to go to property owners that acquire easements, because when you're building a road up, you have to feather the fill back, or sometimes when you're lowering the road, you have to cut it back. We'll need to work on private property. We have shown those places where easements are required. I've talked to the bishops, I've talked to let's see, a number of the property owners along that way. So far, everybody has been agreeable to allow us, are going to donate those easements to keep the process moving and avoid the hassle of going back and forth and negotiating for these easements. They're minor in nature. There's no major one, except in the Bishop's property, where we're going to extend the culverts to the west so that we can maintain two-way traffic on Long Hill Road, because being such a busy road, with all the school buses and all the other activities going on there, it's essential we maintain two-way traffic. So we'll have to extend the culverts somewhat to the west to allow that two-way traffic during construction. But they've agreed that, again, they'd be kind enough to donate that to us. And so all that being said, I would recommend the Board of Selectmen set the right-of-way for Long Hill Road consistent with General Statute 13A, Chapter 238, Highway Construction and Maintenance as shown on maps. Establish right-of-way, plan Long Hill Road, Route 1 to Hubbard Road, Guilford, Connecticut, dated April 4th, which was Friday, prepared by Hacks Engineering. And these copies of these maps are here for your reference. I don't know if you want them. They really just show what I've
You made them.
explained.
You made them, I'll take one.
Okay. I think these were the maps that were actually shown.
Why don't you just pass them out, whoever?
Okay, I've got them, I guess that's everybody.
Yeah. I had 5 sets made, so.
Okay.
Jim, has any of the property owners along this route not been in agreement with what we?
No, we've met with one property owner who is considering asking for some compensation, which they're entitled to under, and we said that that they would be considering it, but after discussions, I thought they were kind of leaning in favor of giving the right away, so they're easy to us. We haven't met with everybody, some people have not been available. Mrs. Azarian was in, she had no problem with it. Linda Duncan was in last week, and she was agreeable. We have a couple of property owners up at the northerly part of the project, Bill Johnson and Mary Solomon. We haven't had a final answer for it, but we've had discussions going on with them, and it's, I think they'll be fruitful.
Just for the benefit of citizens who will be reviewing this meeting on GCTV, you want to give a brief explanation of, number one, what we're doing, number two, how it's funded, and number three, the timing of the project. Okay?
Number one, what we're doing, Long Hill Road is one of our primary arteries, or collector roads in town. It was identified in our town's hazard mitigation plan as a road that needs upgrading because of the historic flooding, especially in that area just behind Bishop's that flooded last Sunday, as a matter of fact. Because this is a primary route for evacuation of the shoreline in case of a major emergency like we had with Sandy. There are historic flooding again, Route 1 at Mill Road, and we had flooding there, and we had flooding at Long Hill Road. Getting people away from the shoreline, coming up from Sachem's Head or Indian Cove or Mulberry, we need to get people away from the shoreline where the flooding occurs. We need to upgrade Long Hill so that we have a unflooded route up to, in the case of a major event, we probably use the high school as the evacuation center. And have used the community center in the past, but that's been for a modest, and it put a strain on the community center when we had Sandy. So the plan, long-term plan, is that the high school will be the place where we will send people because of all the facilities they have.
And we're talking about the new high school,
The new high school, yes.
where we've, taxpayers have appropriated another $500,000 as part of the overall appropriation for the building the school. The $500,000 is to fortify the roof in the area of the shelter, of the building we would use as a shelter. So I just wanted to clarify that, okay?
And that school will have all it'll have backup generators, it will have refrigeration for food, it will have all the amenities that are needed to have an evacuation center. So Long Hill Road, looking at that, is one of the primary issues on the hazard mitigation plan. It's also, from a practical point, from day to day, it's a narrow section of road. It hasn't had any attention really since probably 1960 when they built the high school. It's stood up very well. It is showing distress now. The pavements are cracking. There are long sections of road where we don't have any drainage. It's an appropriate time for us to invest in this infrastructure. We've put this project before the Council of Governments, the South Central Regional Council of Governments. several years ago, and we're talking about exit 53, it takes years to get these projects through. We received authorization from the Council of Governments to proceed with it. We've gone through the DOT process of scoping out the project. When they scoped it, they actually expanded from what we wanted to do, because they thought, well, you're going to invest all this money, you might as well take care of all these other issues that they identified, which includes a new signal at the Route 1 intersection to meet their current standards. Again, that's an old signal. They want to bring that up to code. We're going to make a better turning movement from Long Hill Road onto Route 1, moving all the utilities back, the hydrants that's there, but also the signal control box. These are all expensive items when you start doing this work to make the turn on and off Long Hill Road onto Route 1, make that easier. Again, the next thing would be to deal with that drainage issue. We have two old culverts in there. I think there's a 36-inch reinforced concrete pipe, and there's an old stone box culvert, which was something that was fashionable a couple hundred years ago. Those boxes are, they have Carl helped build it. But they've outlived their useful life. Now what we're talking about in consideration of all the hydraulic issues is a triple box culvert. The center box would be lower. It would allow the normal day-to-day flow through there from Spinning Mill Brook, which comes down from the western part of Guilford. But there's two higher box culverts that are on either side of it that will take that major flow, that when you have 50 to 100-year storms which come down the Spinning Mill Brook, which floods all of that Bishop land. It's still going to occur. I mean, because you have the presence of the West River, when that's at high tide, you're going to have still backup. But the road has been designed so that even at high tide, you all know the West River is a tidal river up to that point. Even at high tide and with the maximum flow from Spinning Mill Brook, we will still have a road that will be passable. There won't be any flooding on it. So these are all considerations that went into the design of this road. We will rebuild the road again from Route 1 up to Hubbard Road. So we will have tied a new road we put in 10 years ago, Hubbard Road, tie that into Long Hill, again, improving the infrastructure there for the allowing egress, but also for just bringing the infrastructure of town up to the current day standards. So that's what we're doing. The project is funded 80% by federal money, 10% state money, and 10% local. We have, through the process of the dedicated road fund, we've paid the first 10%, which is our 10% for the design fee, which is roughly $500,000. That from our dedicated road fund. So we didn't need to go to the people, the citizens of the town for that 10%. That was paid for by contributions to developers over the years. The next phase is when we go to construction. It will, based on today's estimates, it'll cost us about $400,000, more or less. We do have that money bonded already in past projects, and that money's sitting there waiting to be utilized. And then the third thing you asked, Joe, is for a timetable. I'm pushing, and it's one of the issues I have with trying to get this right-of-way cleared up. If we can get this right-of-way, which usually takes a year, if you go through the state DOT process to go through, there's a back and forth, and understandably, it's not the only project they have going on, but it usually takes a year from inception to completion to get these right-of-ways issues cleared. I think we cut off 7 or 8 months. My hope is that if this all goes through as the way I'm envisioning it, we will be ready by the end of this year to go to bid. If we go to bid, if depending on next winter, we could actually start working in the winter time, doing some of this work. It's going to be a couple of year process, I believe. All that being said, the other main issue is, while we talk about funding, the feds will be committed to providing 80% of the fund. You always have to kind of wait online until that money becomes available. These $7 or $8 million every year that's funneled through the Council of Governments that goes to construction, and it's allocated to various projects. We are actually slated for, not this year, but next year for the funding. But it's been historically true that some of these projects get delayed for whatever reason, right-of-way acquisition, some other issue in the design that slows the project down. And the money sometimes goes begging, and if you're ready to go, and you have the project all approved, you just jump right there and jump line and get going. So that's my hope. It may be, maybe false hope, but it's still, it's something that we experienced when we did Hubbard Road. When we were in a position, they had a major project that was all ready to, it was all funded, they had a delay in it. They asked us if we could meet the design time to be ready to bid by the X date. We said sure, and we were ready to do it, and we jumped 3 or 4 projects at that time, because we had already gotten all our permits. We had gotten our DOT permits, our DEP permits, our Corps of Engineers permits. We had done that all on our own in anticipation of someday doing this project. We had been in the pipeline. We didn't have it fully designed, but we knew we could throw a design together pretty quickly. And we did that, and that allowed us to do that. And I want to be in the same position here, that we have a project ready to go. Again, it's cost us nothing. It cost us nothing until that point, because we've used the dedicated road funds to get ready to go out to bid. So that's kind of the,
Good,
in
thank you.
a nutshell, how we got here. And hopefully it'll go as well. The latest thing we're dealing with is just to bring you up to date. They're going to be doing an archaeological survey. There are some areas along the West River that are viewed to possibly have some historic use by our the Indians. People came here before call. And, they think there are some campsites along there that maybe even been down where the Land Conservation Trust.
You mean on the side, like next to the
Side of the
river, like?
yeah. And there's some other areas there. They within, and I think they have to survey areas within a half mile of the project. So they want to make sure there's nothing disturbed that was part of our heritage. So they're doing that. They had to wait till weather breaks.
Yeah,
It was kind of a rough winter.
It'd be kind of neat if they found some stuff, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm sure there's some Indian head,
Sure.
those arrowheads. People find them all over town.
That's
It's
true,
amazing.
yeah.
So, and once that gets done, that's probably a 6-week process. We'll know, I think we can get done with the final design. Again,
Jim, thank you very much.
sorry to carry on so
No,
long.
I'm glad you did, actually. So, I don't know how many people know about what was going on with Long Hill Road, but I think you pretty much explained it. Even though we did have a public hearing that
Well, most of those things,
sparsely attended, though.
if it doesn't go in front of your house, you don't pay a heck of a lot of attention. But it's important that we
But
maintain our infrastructure.
I
and
dare
take
say
care
that
of it.
just about everybody in town will travel that road, sometime within a week or a month time. Gary?
Beverly Hills Road.
It's not totally relevant, but since you're here and you raised the concept of the 30-foot right-of-way, which I know comes up in all of our streets all over, as long as you're here, that's statutory. I mean, I know my front yard, which I take care of, belongs to the town.
Part of it,
And
yes.
I get this question all the time: is this my land or is this the town's land? And from people around, can you address just briefly this sort of right-of-way concept
Yeah.
on all roads in town?
Yeah, by statute, any new subdivision that's created has to have a minimum 50-foot right-of-way. So generally speaking, when they lay it out, 25 feet from the center of the road, 25 feet from that center establishes the right-of-way. And when lots are laid out, your lot begins at that point. The area, usually the road is maybe 25 to 30 feet wide. That 10 or 15 feet, that's grass, that's part of the right-of-way. It's actually not your property, it's owned by the town. Older roads like Long Hill Road are more interesting because the old right-of-ways, while the town has a right-of-way, the old statutes say the property owners abutting still own to the center. So that's all well and good, but then when somebody goes out and surveys the property, they say, okay, what land did you occupy? And that's why you go by stone walls and fences. That is considered your point of occupancy or your what you use. So when somebody comes along and surveys that property, they will survey it as your front line. And there's the front of the right-of-way, that leaving the rest of the land for the town's road usage. So when we went through and looked at all the properties, almost, I would say about 50% of the road frontage had been surveyed, and there were maps on file. So we respected those. We took those as the right-of-way lines. But when you have the Bishop's property and you have the Land Conservation Trust property, that had never been surveyed. So we had to establish, okay, what part of that road would be something that the town could historically have used for building the road and servicing the road and take care of it. And that's how we established this line, this right-of-way line. Whose ownership it is still, you probably go back to the old statutes to say the Bishops was still owned to the center where there, but we still have the right-of-way, the right to maintain that 30 feet from the center for the road construction purposes. So it's kind of a nebulous area in terms of real ownership when you're talking about old roads. New roads, there's no question. They're very clear. You define what people own, and then that's it. And in the case here with 30 feet, thoroughfares, major roads, Long Hill Road, Goose Lane, other roads where there are clearly roads that are take a higher volume of traffic, we consider them thoroughfares. Those roads require a 60-foot right-of-way because you're going to have more need for widening and utilities and so forth. Those roads, that's why 30 feet was from the center line was used here. So because we then want to establish a 60-foot right-of-way because it's a major collector. So I'm sure I didn't clear up a lot of it. But some of it. I don't want to go off for
We'll have a lecture one night.
Jim thinks we have, you haven't voted yet.
I was saying we didn't vote.
I just like to hear myself talk. So.
Thank you, Jim. I guess we'll entertain a motion to approve to set the right-of-way as according to Connecticut General Statute 13A, Chapter 238, Highway Construction and Maintenance as shown on the map. Title, the date is 4/14, or April 4, 2014, and dated and prepared by Hex. And that's what we need to do.
So moved.
Okay, second. Is there any further discussion on the motion? No. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Jim, now you can leave. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Item 5, Director of Human Resources, Mitch Goldblatt. 5.1, discuss and take possible action to award RFQ RFP 5-1314, property/casualty insurance agent of record. Morning, Mitch.
Morning.
Is Sharon going to join
I
you?
thought she was, but she's not, so I'll fly solo on this. I
You're on
guess.
your own.
As you're pretty much aware, I think, we have a casualty and property insurance agent. It's been H.D. Seeger for the last number of years. Yet it was time to go out for new quotation and look for qualifications to them and anyone else who cared to bid on and put together a proposal for the town. We received 4 proposals, and there was interviews done of all 4 firms. Jason Bowden, Linda Trudeau, and myself were available the day of the interviews, and we heard from 4 different potential agents. You've got a spreadsheet, I think, with your information, although there's a small error on bidder number 4. It should say USI Insurance Services is the name of the firm for bidder number 4. But anyway, we went through, it met with all 4, and our conclusion was unanimous that we felt the town would be best served by continuing to utilize H.D. Seeger of Cheshire as our insurance agent of record. And I have their proposal here, also some of the information they've used in the past, and I can answer any questions without going on further than I need to.
Why them over First Fidelity?
First Fidelity is out of New York, and it was, as they described themselves, a boutique insurance company. It was basically a 2-person operation. They had 0 experience in the state of Connecticut, 0 experience with municipalities in the state of Connecticut. We felt very uncomfortable having them be a negotiator, especially with Kerma,
Yeah.
where we have the bulk of our insurance business. So we felt uncomfortable, even though they were the lowest bidder, we didn't feel comfortable with them, quite frankly.
So this was sort of in their regard, kind of get your foot in the door price?
I believe it was.
And,
Although I'm surprised there's another one that would have put their foot in the door, which was very high. So it was interesting that we had.
The 75.
Yeah, we had two that were from outside of Connecticut. Quite frankly, we looked at the bids after we interviewed. There was a recommendation of the purchasing agent that we do it that way, and I think it was a good idea. It was just very surprising. Then when we opened the bids and saw the prices after interviewing them, we would not have recommended bidders 2 or 3 anyway. But certainly the prices were both very low and very high. But our recommendation was for HD Seeger to continue. They do supply training outside of what Kerma does. We do most of our training from Kerma. HD Seeger does supplement some of that. Also, HD Seeger has been sending a representative to our safety committee meetings, both the Board of Ed and the town safety committee meetings, which we find to be quite helpful. And their price, by the way, that they have proposed holds their price that they have had with us for, I think, the last 3 or 4 years as well. So they didn't even raise their price either and they're going to hold it for the next 4 years, which we found very encouraging as well. So that's the recommendation. If there's any other questions, certainly be happy to answer them.
Do we have access to a variety, maybe we don't need it, a variety of people within the firm, or is there
Oh, yeah.
a person that's our primary contact?
Well, that's a good question, because we asked that question of each of the firms that came to visit us, because I want to know, and Sharon Milroy, my counterpart over the Board of Ed, who deals with employee benefits, want to know, who are we going to call when there's an issue? That doesn't mean there's not more than one person. But basically, for HD Seeger, the agent that we talk to most often we call is Scott Sundberg, who's not only a vice president but a partner in the firm. However, he has a supporting cast. Nancy Cosgrove, Mary Ann Rosa, Luke Pence. Luke Pence is the one who comes to our meetings of the safety committees. And Luke and Mark Weintraub help do the training. Cindy Wong is the person in the office that sends me any of the renewals and sends me emails me anything that needs to be filled out. Marianne Rose is a support staff person, and Nancy Cosgrove has also been very helpful in putting together quotations when we need them. But all that being said, when there's an issue, I get Scott in the room, especially when dealing with Kerma. That's the biggest, insurance account we have for both, the property casualty and workers' comp. But don't forget, whoever gets this bid also goes beyond looking at Kerma and the workers' comp and beyond our property and casualty. There are other insurances that we do not, they have to be bid out separately because they're not covered through Kerma. The marina insurance they do for us, the bonding for our tax collector and our finance director are also bid out through them, as well as there's a crime policy, a public officials policy, which covers all of us, especially you, from any lawsuits that come through. So all that is bid out through them each year.
I'm just curious
Yeah.
that Arthur J. Gallagher firm was 3 times the price. Is there,
Because of the fact we opened the bids after we actually met with them, there was no chance for us to even ask them the question. They threw out a lot of things they wanted to do. It was very grandiose, their proposal. I don't think some of it we would have taken advantage of, quite frankly. I think they geared themselves towards bigger communities. They're very experienced in the New York, New Jersey area. They're also, and they're trying to break into Connecticut, so to speak. I think they had a couple of accounts in Connecticut, but the pricing was certainly not what we would be used to, and nor was it anything we could recommend. Even if they were our top pick, they weren't.
But the flip side, are they saying that they can get rates down? I mean, you know, they might be charging 75, but what are they saying about the rates and what they can do to
No,
get?
I'm looking at my notes
Like our
quickly.
workers' comp
I'm looking at my
ratio
notes
is-
quickly for them. They came in, first of all, they came in with 4 people. You know, it was a
Yeah.
very, very big display, and they made a very fine presentation. You know, but quite frankly, they talked about potentially going self-insured with workers' comp, although, quite frankly, Seeger has mentioned that to us in the past as well. They run matrices, they said. You know, some of the stuff that they do is probably a little bit more intense than maybe what we've gotten so far. I can't imagine, though, that we're going to drive down the price of
So I'm saying,
our
they didn't give any
insurance.
statistics. with
No, they didn't give us statistics. They gave us, you know, their staff, and they've got some very good people on staff. There's no doubt about it. But like I say, you know, a couple of our questions are, you know, one of my questions was to them, do any of your municipalities contract with anyone other than Kerma? We wanted to see, you know, where else people were going, and their answer was no, because they have no Kerma experience. So their experience in Connecticut is very limited to, I think, one community, and it's beyond that. We really felt that, and then when the price was so high, there was, you know,
Yeah.
no consideration.
Okay, so let's play devil's advocate.
Sure.
When there's limited companies out there, I mean, we're using
Yeah.
Kerma for liability and such, and then, you know, you're using Anthem for the health. Is there even need to have a broker that we could go out and bid these ourselves?
Yeah, there is, because what Seeger's done in the past, they will go out and they'll shop it. They'll shop it and they'll use it to leverage Kerma if necessary. Sometimes we can't leverage Kerma based on our own experience. Our shopping has been a little difficult, especially in workers' comp, but they do go out to Travelers, they go out to Trident Argonaut, they've looked at other places to try and help us out. And, you know, I think it's important that we have somebody who understands out there in the field. I mean, I've got an understanding, Joe's got an understanding, because we see this stuff, but we really need an agent, I really feel, to go out who understands, does this day after day. That's their field. They know what the trends are, because we can see what our numbers are, but, you know, what are the trends in the insurance agency? What are the trends for insurance right now? You know, is it a hard market? Is it a soft market? They're the ones who have their fingers on the pulse. I'm not saying Seeger, I'm saying any of these people
Right.
have their finger on the pulse of that and can come back and try to push things, or say, you know what, this is not the time we can do anything here. So, no, I think it's been, and what they do, just to show you what I get from them, each year we get a binder, but the binder gets filled as the year goes on with the different policies that I've mentioned to you. We get copies of the policies, we get copies of the quotes. They also are very good with working with our front-end staff in the Selectman's office at making sure that when we buy and sell vehicles, that we make sure that those vehicles are, you know, put on our policy or taken off our policy, and that the rates are correct for doing that too. So they help us watch that. So,
Karen, I don't mean to bring you in on this, but you work with Seeger a lot. Do you have anything to add to this?
I think they're great. I think it's helpful sometimes to have someone to call, because I'm not an insurance expert either, but if I have a claim or I'm not sure about how to handle something, I'll call Mary Ann and say, you know, what's your best advice on this? And she's been helpful to me.
Okay, in case you don't know, Karen, who is administrative assistant to the first selectman, handles all of the lab insurance claims. So, liability, auto, and property, and workers' comp too, don't you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
Karen's a great resource
Yeah.
in doing that, and then she'll keep up with that. If there's an issue, she does come to see me, and I'll get on the phone if there's something, but she's pretty adept at handling that. And Joe's right. I mean, we have a number of potential, they're not all claims necessarily, potential claims against the town. Somebody slips and falls, and those claims go through Karen, and we make sure that Seeger's involved, and then it'll go process through Kerma. But
Sometimes they can help us even to get money back or to facilitate when there's a subrogation issue.
Mhm.
And they'll have to
now, the Board of Ed is on board with this.
yes,
too,
the Board of
right?
Ed is on board with this, and speaking to Jason, Linda, and Sharon, they know I was coming before you today. Your decision basically is binding upon both the Board of Ed side and the town side. There's been a decision made way back, I guess, to make sure we do this together. If we were to split up the two entities, the Board of Ed and the town, our pricing would not be as low as it would be with any of these, number one. Number two, it's important we have the same carrier to help everybody through. And like I said, the recommendation from the three people that did the interviewing, myself, Jason, and Linda, two of whom are obviously from the Board of Ed, was to continue with H.D. Seeger for this purpose, for the agent of record.
Now, Mitch, are we going to entertain for 1 year and then we renew for the
Yeah, I think
other
what
years?
the recommendation is for a 1 year contract and then potential 3 years extensions, but those extensions are now locked in terms of your
20, yeah.
pricing.
At the
So-
same
We
phase?
did that
Yeah,
before.
yeah, we've done that before. I think it's been successful, but also it gives both sides an out. If something happens on their end and they're dissatisfied with the town, they don't have to renew, and if we are dissatisfied with them, we also don't have to renew. But if we do choose to renew, they've held the price of $20,000 as our agent for the 4-year period that we went out for the RFQ.
This would commence July 1.
Thank you very much. It would commence July 1, because right now we do have them on board through June 30th, no matter what we did.
Okay. Thank you. At this time, I'll entertain a motion,
So moved.
Second.
and that is to,
Retain H.G. Seeger.
from July 1,
July 1,
2014
to June 30th,
through June
2000.
30th, 2015, and to, with options.
Yep.
With the options to renew, okay? Is everybody okay with that motion? Gary?
Yes.
Okay. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Unanimous. Thank you, Rich. Okay, item 6 is discuss and take possible action on an application for variance from the noise control ordinance from the community nursery school for the Little Folks Fair. I didn't think they made that no much noise.
We have a new chairperson who's very enthusiastic, and I think he's trying to revive it a little bit and make some changes. I don't know.
Oh, so they're gonna have something new that might be more.
They may,
Yeah.
they're in the
Oh.
process of trying, so not knowing what they were going to have,
Oh.
just thought, well, if
Cover all
you do
bases.
this, you have your bases covered.
Basically, you'll see before you an application for waiver of the noise ordinance. This is for June 7th from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. And the event will be held, as usual, on the town green. And I guess they're having some music, and that's the real concern, from what I understand. I would have hoped somebody from the organization would have been here, but they're not. And as part of the process, this has to be approved by the police department. And you'll see on the second page that it has been approved by Chief Terabile. So it's now brought to our attention for approval also.
Well, it is a great event, and I think quintessential little kid event for Guilford. So it's really become a signature event, so.
I mean,
I'll move that we,
I'll second it, that's great.
okay, good.
Little noise on a Saturday afternoon on the green.
I mean, you're talking about 11
I bet it'll
o'clock.
be
Right,
like
right,
kid music,
right, it's-
Raffy and stuff.
It's not 11 at night, it's
It's 11 in the morning.
It's
you
the
know?
afternoon, or
Even if
late
you had-
morning afternoon.
If you had a long Friday night, you could still be able
That's
to
all
put up
right,
with this.
that's all right.
All right, motion was made and seconded. I guess, any further discussion? No. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Although as an aside, I can't believe I'll be going to that fair for a number of years now. Not that I didn't enjoy going, I did, but with Little Wins again, I'll be going for a long time.
That's,
Yeah.
that's what you choose, right? Okay. All right, appointments and recommendations. I would like to entertain a motion to table these appointments. We have no resignations on here that I'm aware of. So I would entertain a motion to table items 7.1 through 7.8. And the reason I am recommending this motion is I feel that in some of these cases, we don't have enough information. And we take the recommendations of the various town committees, depending on whose seat it is. And I think the town committees do a very good job of vetting, but I feel going forward that we as selectmen have to probably do a little bit of our own vetting. So I'd like to entertain that motion if somebody would make it.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion on the motion?
And I just want to also add, Joe, I know we've talked about this, a process, and Gary, you mentioned this as well, that a huge portion of folks are registered as unaffiliated, and there should be an opportunity venue for them to apply on the boards maybe differently than currently exists.
Okay.
I just want to be clear that Barbara Hemming serves until she's reappointed, right? Because I don't want to have,
I think she'll serve.
You and me both.
In fact,
Yes, she does.
They all serve.
They all do.
everybody serves until
Right.
they're reappointed or
reappointed,
replaced, yeah. I just want to make that clear, that's all.
You don't have any problems with Barbara, do you?
What he's saying is he would if she wasn't.
Oh, I know that, so am I, yeah. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
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 All right, thank you. Item 8, request for the use of town property. We have items 8.1 through 8.8. Gary?
I would move to approve the 3 uses and 5 signs as listed in the agenda.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? I don't think there is. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Unanimous. All right. Item 9, any correspondence? Okay. I just want to mention that I think you've all received a copy of my letter congratulating Chief Tarabot and the entire police department for receiving an excellent in-service award from the CLEAR organization. And CLEAR, as you know, is a professional organization for police departments that really do a quite an investigation of how our police, all the police departments that are members, operate in their procedures and their record keeping. And this year, we've always gotten a high award, but this year we've got the highest award. And I sent that letter on to the police commission and to Chief Tarabile, and I believe I copied all of you on that. So I think, again, good work on that. Committee reports, anybody? Gary?
The Energy Task Force received a request, and actually, Joe, you and Karen are more than familiar with this because Karen's been involved in extending it. But Katie Hughes of Perkon Church applied for a grant for an EV station, an electric vehicle charging station. Came to the conclusion, which I think is obvious to all of us, that her parking lot was not the place to put it. Came to the town, asked the Energy Task Force of the town to consider putting it in a town parking lot. She came to the Energy Task Force at the last meeting. I think Karen's talked to the DEP and is determined, or
We requested an extension until the 31st of
talked to them,
May.
talked to them or wrote to them, communicated with the DEP and requested an extension, which, and there may be another one required, but the grant would pay for the cost, half of the cost. The town has a clean energy grant that's sitting there that could be used so that we could do it. There have been a variety of suggestions for location, including somewhere in this parking lot, including possibly the community center where the kiosk for is going in for GPA for tourist information. Actually, a recent suggestion might be behind in the parking lot over here, behind Guilford Food and places in that place. Madison, in fact, is doing the same thing, and they're putting theirs in the parking lot behind the movie theater, which I'm not clear whether that's municipal or it's owned by some of the property owners, but I know that the site is actually going to be on one of the property owners' buildings. So anyway, there's some investigation needed. I think the cost is unclear of what it's going to cost to do this, but I think the Energy Task Force would like an endorsement by us that we would be prepared to support this, maybe to extend the DEP grant, to investigate it further. I'm not sure it's possible to do this within the grant period as it now exists, because this it would be in a historic district. We've missed this month's posting. It physically can't be done within the historic district, but I think the idea of doing this is probably a good thing for the town, and if the selectmen are prepared to endorse it, it's an informal, it's an endorsement to consider exploring this and figuring out whether it can be done and where it can be done.
Gary, I looked into this. There is a lot of other costs, just so you know, down the road in terms of upkeep, maintenance, and so I would absolutely endorse the continued investigation of this. I think it could be a good thing. And from my understanding in Madison, it's actually going to be the business owners that are going to control it. So that's why there's an ongoing. It's not inexpensive by any stretch of the imagination, but I think it's something that's needed, and that's why they're doing the grants as cars develop. So. And we might want to also look at other private properties, commercial properties to put it on, like the most likely thing would be with a gas station, because it's a consistent use or something like that. So I just throw that out there, but I would absolutely endorse the continued investigation.
Yeah, I think the gas station issue is a timing issue. I mean, the idea,
yeah.
the concept is it's somewhere near the green so that you can plug your car in,
Right.
go to a store, go to a restaurant, go somewhere.
Right.
And come back out. I mean, I don't think, as I understand it, it's particularly useful for me if I have an EV to drive the 3 miles from my house to town and plug it in. It's for
Right.
people that are coming from out of town
Yeah.
that have come 100 miles or whatever and
Yeah.
want to plug it in. And it's, in a sense, to support the businesses in town and people traveling through. I'm with you. I said to them, I want to know what it costs to run. If it's going to be plugged into a town building, I want to know what it costs to run this thing.
It's not
and
inexpensive.
I'm not going to finally support it without knowing those
Right.
costs. But this sort of came up quickly. The grant money may or may not be available depending on the time. Karen, did you get any sense that they could extend it again if we have a valid reason?
I didn't, but I can't say one way or the other.
Right,
They
okay.
just extended it a
I
month.
mean, my sense is that the state is trying to support this. They're trying to build a network. It's part
They
of
are.
the clean energy thing.
Yeah.
So it's reasonable to think that they might extend it for enough time for us to fully investigate it. But I would ask that we as a board endorse the continued investigation into accomplishing
Right,
this.
that's what I move that. That's, yeah.
Is that your motion, your second?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
I'm not sure that's binding on any.
No, it's not.
No, but it's just,
It's just an endorsement to go
It's
forward.
an endorsement.
First of all, I want to thank Gary for taking this project on. It came to me, and I asked him if he would be willing to look into it. He does serve as our representative to the Energy Task Force, and you see he's already done a lot of work with it and appreciate it, particularly because the timing was so critical when we got it. I think we had a week or two to decide, and Karen, I'm glad, Karen was able to get us the extension, and I appreciate that. Obviously, I endorse this. I think we should endorse it as an exploration of the project. Some concerns I have, and Gary knows, I wouldn't want to see this in a parking space on the road. I think it has to be off-road in some parking lot. That's my personal opinion, not to cause congestion of people. I can't imagine in the beginning, a lot of people waiting for these things.
Well, but presumably
yeah.
you have to dedicate 2 parking spaces that have to be left. I mean, one of the suggestions, and physically the easiest, might be to put it right out front, because there is an electric hookup right on the green right there, but then it takes 2 parking spaces away from the green. So there's pluses and minuses to whatever you're going to come up with.
Exactly, and this goes to the point that we're starting to realize that parking is becoming a premium on the green, particularly when you have some more businesses coming into the green. The Trailblazers building is nearing completion of their renovation projects, and I think it looks pretty good. It's only been a half a dozen years or so, not really. But one of the companies who are in Guilford, who's going to occupy the entire second floor, I believe, is going to bring with that occupation 14 employees, or 15, which are conceivably be 15 additional cars downtown. So we've got that issue to deal with. So I think this particular charging station, I wouldn't have any problem putting it in the back in Town Hall, which is easy accessible, it's out of the way, but we'll look at that, okay? But thank you again. All those in favor of the endorsement?
Aye.
Aye? Aye. Okay, thank you.
I would just add one other thing, is we believe that the installation in Durham came with a free unit from one of the car companies. And one of the suggestions was maybe we approach one of the car companies, because they have the same interest in promoting this idea. You know, maybe they want to provide the charging station and a vehicle for one of our town employees. I suggested Joe, but he wants an SUV. You know, maybe there's a town vehicle that comes around and it says
We
provided
always get-
by Ford or provided by Nissan or whatever. So, I mean, we may actually be able to parlay this.
We always get the handouts from the police department,
Right.
which I'm grateful for. And considering the weather we've had since I've been in office, an SUV is appropriate, I think. Any further committee reports?
John, I'm not sure if, it does not necessarily a committee with us, but indirectly it is.
Go ahead.
I, as you know, I'm in charge of with the Rotary, the Guilford Clean Up, we're calling it now Clean Up the Earth Day. We've joined forces with the Guilford Land Trust, and the event is taking place on Saturday, May 3rd. From 8 in the morning to 2 will be a station on the green where you can come get bags, gloves, and any necessary materials in which to clean up areas of town. Also designated locations that will make recommendations unless you have a place that you'd already like to clean up. The concept behind this, which is many, many years in the making, and I want to give a lot of kudos to Betty Manis and Carol McCormick, who did it for well over 5 years and did an incredible job, is to sort of community-wise recognize that our town is all one community, and we want it to be beautiful, and so springtime was one of the times they selected to clean it up, and particularly after this winter, we could use some tremendous help with some cleanup. So we're looking for folks and groups and organizations that might want to come out and help us clean out certain areas of town. That can include Jacob's Beach, Chatfish Island, different areas, some of the marshes that need some cleanup. We've already got groups designated already that have volunteered, and so we're looking for your help. That also includes you want to get your neighbors together and clean up sort of your streets and your areas. That's wonderful. Your own properties, that's great too. But we're looking for a lot of folks to come out and help. So the Guilford Rotary is taking over the event and sort of organizing it and running it. And a young gentleman came to me who works with the Guilford Land Trust, so we're combining that effort as well. So it should be a great, wonderful day. And there is a rain date. If it does horribly rain on Saturday, the rain date will be on Sunday. But we'll be there on the green. We'll also have some coffees and donuts and things like that, so we encourage folks to stop by. And I encourage you to connect with me if you can ahead of time so we can start designating locations and get it going. And there'll be a lot of information in the weeks to come in the local newspaper, online, about the event, so folks need some more information. So
Great.
Clean Up the Earth Day.
And that's May 3rd, right?
Correct, Saturday, May 3rd.
Thank you.
Although, Cindy, I would also add
Yes.
that if our citizens didn't throw things out the car windows,
I
there would be
know.
less of a need.
I know. Well, hopefully this will kind of raise awareness too, Gare. So.
Okay, is there any old business?
I just would like to announce that the fundraiser for the Covenant Memorial will kick off this Thursday. There's going to be an article and a half-page ad in the Guilford Courier. And we'll also be doing mailings of a brochure on the subject, but it's crunch time, and
Yeah.
in order to get it done by June 1st, we have to raise the funds. So I would ask everybody in town if they would contribute to this very worthwhile endeavor, $5, $10, whatever you can afford. And it'll start this Thursday.
Great, and every little bit helps.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Carl. I would just add, One item, is that just to remind, two items, just to remind our seniors that we're in the enrollment period right now, which began February 1st for the senior tax freeze program. They have to, if they're in your program, you have to renew each year or apply each year. And if you're new to the program, you should apply now. The deadline is May 15th on that. So just a reminder. I don't know when this is going to air. Probably not until midweek, Mike. So, but if by some chance it gets on tonight or tomorrow, tomorrow, April 8th, is the referendum day on the town and school budget and 2 bonding questions. So maybe we can get this on a little earlier to just remind people, okay? Anybody else? Any new business? Okay. Public forum limited to 3 minutes on any issue. Anybody? Nope. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all.